Hi, I'm Vanessa Grasse, and you're listening in Time.
Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Intime. Today we're joined with the incredibly talented actress Vanessa Grasse. So I guess we should just get straight into it. We're going to run through like your whole career really and everything that you've done and things in the future. And I'd like to start with how you first got into acting. Was it a very at a very young age, or is it something that you discovered later on in your life?
I'd say it was probably later on. When I was in like primary school, I'd say I was quite a shy kid, and I didn't really do any drama. And I remember I had one part in a school play, and I I was like a tiny part, and my one job was to like take this prop off the stage before the next scene, and I completely forgot to do it, and it meant that the whole next scene didn't make sense, and I completely messed up. So that kind of scarred me. So I was like, this isn't for me. And then I started having drama classes in secondary school, and I had these amazing teachers, and they were so passionate, and they just kind of allowed everyone to just be themselves and have fun, and I loved it. And that's when I started doing more school plays. And then I wanted to go to drama school, but my dad was like, he was quite traditional. He was like, I think you should go to university first, get a degree so you have something to fall back on, and then go to drama school. And I think looking back as well, I probably wasn't quite ready for drama school. So I actually went to Leeds University. I studied English literature and theatre studies, so like a little bit of drama in there. And then when I graduated, I kind of just thought, it's not going to happen. Like, I just thought it's just not possible. It's just such a ridiculously crazy career. It's so unlikely. So I was just like, no. And then I kind of got into modeling when I was like not sure of what I wanted to do. And then luckily the modeling agency that I joined had an acting division within it. And the guy, I remember, just said, do you enjoy acting? And I was like, yes. So I auditioned for him, and then he started representing me. And then I've moved agents since, but that's kind of how I got into it. So it's a bit of a weird route, not the traditional route, but yeah, no, it's good.
It's really interesting. I think we can relate to that in a way because we're both musicians studying at music university at the moment.
Oh, cool.
So I guess the whole thing about you saying, the parents kind of try and persuade you to go to a more traditional university because it's always a backup. I had the complete same thing. My mom was
Yeah.
completely against me going to music university at first. I had to completely show her that I was dedicated to it, and she eventually let me do that. But I guess growing up, when you eventually figured out that you wanted to become an actor, um, what kind of things were you doing to get into that? Like you said, you went to some drama classes and things like that, and you were in play. You worked on plays. Was there any kind of networking involved, like meeting new people involved in the industry, that kind of thing?
Yeah, there was a little bit of that. I mean, I made friends with the other actors who we shared the same agent with, and we would go to drama classes and things. And I guess with each job that you get, your network kind of expands. So you meet other actors and other producers and other directors or whatever. So I think naturally, the more you work and put yourself out there, the more contacts you get, I guess. But yeah, a lot of it is about, just putting yourself out there as much as possible, which is difficult because sometimes you just feel so cringy and so horrible. But it's a lot of it is just about putting yourself out there and just being confident and believing in yourself. So yeah.
So I guess that's, I mean, you through expanding your network and everything, you've ended up landing some like great gigs as well. I mean, you've worked alongside Ashley Walters, Noel Clarke,
Yeah.
um, and then I mean we'll get onto it later, but I think you've worked alongside Blake Harrison as well for
Yeah, he was in the Agatha
yeah.
Christie film that's coming out. Yeah, it was amazing working with him, and also with Helen Baxendale, who is Emily from Friends. And it's really difficult as well because you know, Neil from The In-Betweeners and Emily from Friends, you know, those characters are like ingrained into my life. I watched them over and over. So I would kind of catch myself on set being like, Neil, sorry, Blake, you know, which is so embarrassing. But no, it was really interesting getting to know, because I don't really know like any majorly famous actors, but it was really interesting learning about their story and like their experiences being on such big shows that are so well known, and also, you know, the side of it that we don't expect, that, you know, for periods of time they couldn't walk down the high street without getting like bombarded, which we don't think about. We just think, oh, it must have been so glamorous and so like fun, but actually there is that side of, you know, you can be harassed, like Blake was saying, you know, when he's with his kids, people ask him for selfies and it's a bit uncomfortable, or he's on the tube and someone will, you know, shout at him or something. And it's little things like that you just don't, oh, I've got a package. Do you mind if I grab it? I'm so
Yeah, that's cool,
sorry.
that's cool.
I'll be 2 seconds. How typical
right.
is that I get a package? Right. What was I talking about? I can't remember. Sorry.
I think it was about, was it about networking? I think it was about.
No, it was kind of like about Blake Harrison and like taking selfies with people with it while he's with his kids and things like that.
Oh yeah. So it was just really interesting to hear their side of it, basically the side that we don't usually hear about. But yeah, it was so amazing working with them and learning from them as well, because I feel like every job that I do, I feel like I learn. So I'm so out of breath from running up the stairs. I feel like I learn so much from every single person. So it's just really, really interesting watching them all work and their like processes and stuff. So yeah, it was really cool working with them.
So I suppose, yeah. So I mean, like through that and different processes, I mean, you've landed, you've played quite like a few different characters as well across a lot of the films and shows you've been on. Do you have like a set process that you sort of filter into straight away, as in like, or are there certain characters that are just naturally easier to get into just because it like aligns with your personality or behaviorisms?
Yeah, I remember quite early on in my career, I was worried that I was kind of getting a bit pigeonholed into the kind of like girl in the horror film getting like chased by a monster or someone, or like, you know, the victim or the vulnerable. I was kind of worried that I was only getting those roles. And the director of Open 24 Hours, Padraig Reynolds, he said that he cast me because apparently I have a face that you feel sorry for. I was like, thank you. But yeah, I think, I don't know, I think maybe because maybe I've done a lot of horror, because I find it quite easy to access those kinds of emotions, like the fear and the like trauma and stuff. But luckily, recently, I have kind of broadened my roles a bit. Like for Bulletproof, I played like, you know, a northern girl, which I've never done before, and it was modern, which was nice, and there was action in it, which was cool. And Agatha, I play that was more of a period role. So yeah, I'm really glad that I'm kind of branching out a bit, because I was a bit scared that I was just going to become this like scream queen and like only doing that. And yeah, because you want to keep challenging yourself and doing different things. So yeah.
When you are like auditioning for these roles, and when you eventually get them, is there like a set process that you go through to kind of become that character for the film or for the TV series, for example?
Getting into character, I guess it's all about, I mean, you can do kind of research into like the character's history. You can either make up the story, or like maybe it's in the script. But I think the main thing that I always try to come back to is keeping it as true to reality as possible. Like, I don't know about you guys, but the thing that I love most when I watch actors is just seeing that raw truth, when you just think that they just are that character. They're not acting, they just are that character. Like, one of my favorite actors is Christian Bale, because I feel like when you're watching him, like he plays all these different characters that are completely different, and every single one, he just is the character, and he commits so much to it. So I think every time I just try to be as grounded and as real as possible, because there's nothing worse when you feel like it's just fake, I think. So, yeah.
Sure. I mean, would you say that there's one like standout spectacular performance that you always kind of draw inspiration from? I mean, for me, I'm obsessed with Anthony Hopkins and his Silence of the Lambs. I absolutely love him in Westworld. Well, I think he was incredible in that.
Yeah, I did watch season 1 of Westworld, and then I stopped. Is it on season 3 now?
Yeah, season 3 has just finished last week.
Wow. Is it good? Is it still good?
Anthony Hopkins isn't in it anymore, unfortunately. But,
yeah, didn't he, spoiler alert, doesn't he get shot at the end of the first one? Yeah.
And then he comes back in season 2.
Oh, he does. Interesting.
Then he's not. But Evan Rachel Wood crushed it.
She crashed it.
Yeah, there was a lot of crashing and burning, but yeah, no, she absolutely crushed it. And Tessa Thompson was insane. Ed Harris was amazing. Is there like any spectacular performances that you take inspiration from and have always been at the top of your list, kind of thing?
I mean, one that does really stand out for me is Charlize Theron in Monster. Is it Monster? Yeah, it's Monster, isn't it? Yeah. I just thought that was just incredible, because I'd never seen her do anything like that before. And yeah, it just really shocked me. She just committed so well, and the character arc that she went through, and yeah, I think she's an incredible actress. I really loved like watching her career flourish, and that's kind of who I had that a little bit in mind when I was doing Open 24 Hours, that kind of inspiration a little bit. But yeah, but there's so many. I mean, any of Christian Bale's stuff, I'm like bowing down to.
Yeah, he's unbelievable. So about Open 24 Hours, obviously we've both done our research and watched loads of stuff, but that we saw the trailer for that and it looked immense, but can't find it anywhere. So what's going on with that? What happened with that?
I know. So basically, we shot it, I think, in 2017. It was like November, December 2017. Shot it in Serbia, and the shoot went really well. There was one hiccup where there was a virus going around, not coronavirus obviously, but there was a virus going around the crew and everyone got a bit sick, including me, which is not fun. It was like projectile vomiting everywhere, but it kind of like added to the experience a little bit, like the trauma. But yeah, the shoot went well, and then the next year in 2018, it premiered at Fantastic Fest in Austin, which is amazing. I went there, never been before, was really cool. And then also Scream Fest in LA in October, it showed there. And then, yeah, it's kind of been in a bit of a like post-production phase at the moment. I think they've been trying to find the right distributor, basically. I think there was a bit of disputing over which one was the right one, but now I've heard that they have found the distributor, and apparently it is coming out in August, as far as I know, but it could change, so don't quote me on that.
I mean, fair enough. We like I said, we saw the trailer and it looked brilliant. We saw some interviews as well from the screenings of that film. Like you said,
yeah. What was the Fright Fest as well?
Yeah,
sorry, Fright Fest in London. Yeah.
Like you said, you shot in Serbia, so how was that?
Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, well, Leatherface we shot in Bulgaria, which I guess is kind of near Serbia. So I found the experience quite similar. The crew were amazing, like really hardworking. Their work ethic is like amazing. And yeah, the cast and crew were great. Emily Tennant, she played my best friend. Brendan, Cole. Like the cast was amazing. It was very cold. It was like I remember we were shooting outside and it was -3 and it was snowing, and I was wearing this like tiny like flannel shirt, trying to run around and scream and stuff. So it was tough at times, but yeah, I mean, and emotionally it was incredibly draining because my character goes through so much in that film, and like I think I'm okay with crying on camera. I can usually like muster it up pretty well. But after like 4 weeks of like full on crying, I was like, there are no tears left. It was an amazing experience. And like my character is pretty much in every scene, which is a lot of pressure. And I only found out that I got the job 3 days before. So there was no time to prepare. So that was a little bit scary and stressful. But yeah, it was an amazing experience. I learned so much, and I'm really looking forward to it coming out.
I mean, another one that where I suppose you're at the forefront as well is Leatherface. You get put through a lot of your character goes through a lot of paces, and that is.
I know, poor Lizzie, she does.
Yeah. Was just rewatching the. I mean, yeah, I suppose it's too late to even say spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that was a pretty. I mean, a lot of the deaths in that film were pretty gory.
Stephen Dorff's for me was when he's in the sofa.
Yeah, yeah. I was just like giving Joe a commentary when I was watching. I was like, oh no, he's still going. I mean, like, how was it like coming? I mean, I suppose when you get the script, you kind of know the outcome of your character. It's like, how is it just like coming to that final scene? Like, all right, this is the one now. This is where.
Well, the funny thing is, so we shot that. I think it was like 2015 or something, and then we actually did reshoots the next year with a different ending. So when we first shot it, there was a completely different ending, and I can tell you what the ending is. It's in like the director's cut or whatever. So the original ending was so I'm in the house, and then instead of running out of the house, I run upstairs. He finds me, cuts my like thigh with the chainsaw, and then the granddad hits me on the hammer and I pass out, and then I wake up and I'm in his dungeon, and I'm hanging. There's like a meat hook hanging like through my shoulder, and I'm just kind of lying there half like alive. And then he comes up to me and he's wearing my face, and half of my face is like come off and bleeding, and then he like goes to chainsaw me and then it cuts. So that was the original ending, but apparently they said it was like way too disturbing. Which
at that point they called it way too disturbing.
Yeah. And it probably is. Like I did watch it and I was like, ooh. But yeah, so then the next year we went back and we reshot it and did the head chop, which is a lot more kind of like, it's a lot more final, it's a lot more like shocking, isn't it? But it was really fun to film because, you know, I'm running through the woods. It felt very surreal. I was running through the woods. There was all this like fake smoke, the fake moonlight. I was like sprinting through the woods. The camera was on a quad bike chasing me. It was really fun, but it was tough. And I remember the way that they actually shot it was I was lying on the ground, like pleading to him. And they had like a dummy of my body and then a head, which was attached kind of like with a magnet. And so I was there. And then when the camera was behind, they just had the dummy so that when he went like that, the head came off. And then when I was lying, they just kind of CGI'd that bit out. But yeah, it was quite funny. Like my boyfriend and my dad watching that bit, they were just like, I don't want to see you get your head chopped off. This isn't nice. I was like, it's not me, it's fine. But yeah.
Yeah, it's such a shocking scene. And I guess the whole movie's pretty shocking as well.
Yeah.
It's so intense all the way through. Is it easy to get kind of lost in that world while you're filming? Like, you know, while you're running through the woods and there's fake smoke and it's pitch black outside, I guess. Must be pretty scary even just filming it.
definitely. Like there were definitely moments where I was like, this is pretty terrifying. But I think also one of the hardest things is acting like you're scared for your life, like you're literally about to die, when Sam Strike, who's like your friend, is like running after you with a chainsaw. Like there was a moment where he was chasing me in the woods and we had like bumped into each other, like the chainsaw like hit my leg and we both just started laughing because they're like, this is so ridiculous. But it was scary. But I would say, yeah, the hardest part of doing these kinds of movies is trying to get that feeling of like, I'm gonna die, I could die, to like portray that. I would say is tough when your friend is there with like a silly mask on and a fake plastic chainsaw and stuff. So yeah, not that scary.
I think another film. I mean, we don't have to talk about this if you don't want, but one of the films you did a while back, quite early on, is Robo Shark.
Oh no, we can talk about that.
Oh,
I love
brilliant,
that
brilliant.
film.
Yeah. So, how was that whole experience? Because that just sounds like something. I mean, yeah, it just sounds brilliant.
It was absolutely hilarious, and it was probably the best possible first job I could ever get, because there was no pressure apart from you guys. No one's going to see it. It was literally going on like Sci-Fi Channel Shark Week, not a big deal. And I remember I went into the audition, I was kind of just like, I'll do it, like. And then I got it and I just thought, do you know what, like, it's a part in a film and I've never had that before. I have to do it. And we literally shot it in 2 weeks in Bulgaria, and it was so much fun. It was great because it kind of like threw me into it. And I remember even the director halfway through, because I was trying to be really like actor, trying to get into the zone, and I was like, so what is the shark gonna look like? And he was like, it's gonna look shit. And I was like, okay. Okay, cool. And if you see the film, like the shark literally looks like it's been drawn with like clip art or something. It's so bad. But it was the perfect learning experience, I think, because there was no pressure and I could just kind of throw myself into it. So I'm very thankful, because if my first job was like a huge film, I think it would just be so much more terrifying, because, if you don't do a good job, then it could have, a bad consequence on your next job or whatever. So, but yeah, I mean, so many of my friends take the piss out of that film, but I love it. I think it's hilarious.
Yeah, it's a funny concept, but I remember when we were doing our research and we saw that, it was kind of like, oh my god.
Have you watched it?
We haven't watched the full film. I couldn't find it actually. I think there's
really?
on YouTube, but it's really really low quality, so I didn't manage.
Oh, it's the kind of film that I think you need to get together with your friends and like have a drink and like have a laugh watching it, because it's just ridiculous. I mean, there's a point where, so the premise is there's a shark that gets, what is it? The shark like eats an alien and turns into a robot shark, and then somehow gets into the sewage system of the city and starts like causing chaos. And then my character, who's this like angsty teenager who's obsessed with her phone, basically the shark starts tweeting her with emojis with like, yeah, I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous, but it is quite funny. I mean, it's not going to win any Oscars, let's just say that.
I mean, fair enough. Obviously, that was the first thing you really did in the acting world, I guess. But you've gone on to work on some like really cool stuff. Obviously, I don't want to stay on Leatherface for too long, but that's got such a cult following. I mean, even on YouTube, there's countless videos with millions and millions of views about the film, and it's got like such a huge following. Have you ever had any like crazy fan experiences after that film came out?
Not really. I mean, I've had, when I've been at Fright Fest, I've had people come up with like you know, my picture or whatever and say, can you sign it, which is really sweet. I actually just get quite a lot of really sweet messages on Instagram just saying, I just watched Leatherface, I really enjoyed it, like I'm sad that you died, or I thought you did a really good job, or, which is really, really sweet when you read those. I get the occasional odd message, like there was one where someone was like, he was like, oh, I just watched you, you're amazing, love you so much. And then because it went into my, you know, when it goes into the non-contact messages or whatever, it doesn't come up. So then I didn't see it, obviously. So then I went back, and then like a week later he replied saying like, fine bitch. And I was like, oh, okay, sorry. I didn't see it. But other than that, no, I get really, really, really nice, supportive messages from people, which is lovely.
Now, I think one of the things I suppose we can talk about in, well, I suppose in current times as well is with lockdown, how's that affecting you? So from an acting space, I guess, because everything's on pause, really.
Yeah, I mean, I've been working on a video game at the moment, and I was supposed to have like a video recording session in March, which obviously didn't happen. But that's kind of the only job that I've had cancelled. Luckily, Bulletproof came out during lockdown, so I guess that's quite good because it got quite a big viewing. I've had a few auditions, but not that many. And usually I do my self tapes at my acting agency, and obviously I've been doing them from home now. But yeah, I was quite worried at first because, you know, every day there's new information and it changes all the time. And I was really worried because obviously you can film the news and stuff like that with the whole 2-meter distance and a scaled down crew. But I was like, how the hell are you supposed to do, you know, films or TV with those kinds of restrictions? But I've seen recently that actually a lot of productions are actually starting up again. So I saw like EastEnders is starting up again, and just with new rules. So like you'll have to wear masks and you have to keep a distance, and everyone gets their temperature checked regularly. So I think things are starting up again. It's just slightly different, which obviously is a shame, but I feel like there's so much demand and so much money and creativity that it will just get back going, and it will be, they'll find solutions and it will be fine. But yeah, obviously it does suck for everyone.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a rough time for us as well. We've had like all the gigs cancelled.
Oh no.
Like university's completely gone for the rest of the year.
Yeah, how is that? So do you just have like online classes or?
Yeah, essentially. So it's kind of like 30 people in a Zoom call.
Wow.
They give you like a 10-15 minute lecture, and then they let you go and do the work yourself.
Oh, wow.
But for a live music performance course, it doesn't really work because
No.
So it's been tough. But like you said, we'll get through it, and everything should return to normal.
Definitely.
But back to you, I guess one of the other big projects that you've worked on is Astral, and that was another fantastic film. Explores some quite very interesting topics about astral projection and things like that. When getting into that role, did you have to do much research about the concept, or was it just more of an acting role?
It was mainly just acting, but Chris, who directed it, he also wrote the script with his brother, and they did loads of research on it, obviously, and they kind of gave us a massive lowdown on it. But my character, to be honest, she's pretty intelligent and she knows a little bit about it, but it's more Frank's character that kind of delves into it. So for me, it was more kind of about the acting, but it was really fun to do a horror film that was actually a paranormal horror, because that's actually the style of horror that I personally prefer than like the slasher, gory stuff. So and I found it really scary when I watched it, because the whole paranormal ghost thing really freaks me out. So it was really fun to do that. And again, that was also shot in like 2 weeks. So it's kind of amazing what you can do in 2 weeks.
I mean, moving away from the horror stuff as well. So this year, I think you've got like 2 or 3 kind of fairly big projects coming out. One of them is Agatha and the Death of X.
Yes. Yeah, I think they actually changed the title to Agatha and the Midnight Murders, which
I saw 2 different titles. I was confused there. Yeah.
Yeah, it was the Death of X, but then a few weeks ago they suddenly changed it. But I actually prefer Midnight Murders, so I think that's good.
Yeah. So I mean, like, what's your Can you tell us more about what sort of character you're playing in that, and then like a little bit about? I think it's set in 1940s, isn't it, in London?
Yeah, so it's set in the 1940s in London during the Blitz, which I really liked, because even though Leatherface was kind of in the 60s, it was in America. So I was really excited to do something like a period British piece. And so yeah, it's set in the 1940s in London, and the idea is, so it's not an actual Agatha Christie novel. Agatha Christie is actually in it. And it's kind of part of a trilogy. So there's been 2 films that have been out already, and this is the 3rd one. It's going to be on Channel 5. And so, yeah, the premise is that Agatha's she's in debt, and she's written this manuscript, and she's trying to sell it. And then all these different things happen, and all these people die, and it's trying to find out who did it and all that kind of stuff. I can't say too much about my character, and I don't want to give too much away, because there are a few kind of twists and turns. But my character's called Nell, and she is a tourist visiting with a friend, and gets kind of caught up in the whole chaos of the murders, basically. But that was shot in Malta, funnily enough, not London. We did that last November, and yeah, it was a really, really fun shoot. I really enjoyed it. Again, really nice cast. Also, Alistair Petrie was in it, who's in, have you seen Sex Education? He plays the headmaster. Yeah. So yeah, it was really good to work with really like experienced actors, and just seeing how they work.
Yeah, fair enough. It sounds like quite an interesting project. What was the reason for filming in Malta and not London?
I think it was probably because it's cheaper. That's usually why people film in kind of Eastern Europe and stuff, because I think it's really expensive to film in London. So and also they have really great crews there, and great locations, and they've got all the equipment and everything you need. So yeah, and also it's nice to be in Malta, because it's a lot sunnier than here. So I was like, yeah, I'll take it.
I can imagine it's a lovely place. I guess considering it's set in the 1940s, you've got to kind of create a pretty realistic set as well that like kind of replicates that kind of era. I mean, how did they go about doing that?
Well, so luckily, most of it is just set in one room in a basement. So I think that's also why it was fine not filming in London, because you don't see any of London. It's all in a basement, no windows. And it's kind of a bit of a junkyard. There's a lot of like antiques everywhere. And then there's one other scene that's set in the hotel bar, which is just before we go, because there's basically an air raid and we all have to go down into the basement. But before that, it's set in the hotel bar, which is a very grand, large, posh bar, which is just like the hotel bar, I think. So yeah, it worked really well. And I think that's also why it was kind of easier to do in 2 weeks, because when it's all set in one room, you don't have to keep changing location every day or every few days. So it was a lot easier in that sense. So yeah.
I mean, one of the other projects I can see that you're listed for, I don't think it's come out yet, is Grounds, which I think is a short film.
Oh yeah. So that that did quite a few of the film festivals, the short film festivals. There was one in, I think, Dublin that it won. And that was really cool because it was written and directed by a friend of mine. And we shot that, was it last year or the year before? My memory's so bad, I'm sorry. And that was literally shot in 2 days. And it's a really interesting concept, actually. It's very current. It's all about, so a girl and a guy meet at a party, and the girl, they kind of both fancy each other, and one thing kind of leads to another, and he kind of like, you know, they start kissing and stuff, and then he kind of starts getting a bit more physical with her, and she kind of changes her mind, and she's like, oh, I don't know if I want to do this. But then he like pushes and pushes and pushes, and then to the point where she gets scared and has to push him off. And then this whole drama starts about who was in the wrong. Like, was she giving him signals? You know, was he trying to like rape her? And so it's quite interesting because it is quite a grey area, especially when, you know, alcohol or drugs are involved. So yeah, it was interesting to be in a storyline that's quite current today. And yeah, that was a really fun project.
I mean, it sounds kind of like it's like quite a upsetting storyline by the sounds of it.
Yeah,
like you said, it's quite a current kind of thing. Playing that kind of role, how do you kind of get into the headspace of that? You know, it's definitely a negative kind of feeling, and it can be quite disturbing to some people watching that. I guess, you know, people that can relate to that kind of situation. Have you got to kind of channel a darker mindset while you're filming that kind of thing?
Yeah, well, not luckily, but my character was actually, so my friend Lucy played the girl who has the thing. I'm kind of the best friend, but my character, so my best friend is the girl, but my brother is the boy. So she kind of doesn't really know who to side with, because, you know, she probably should side with her friend, but also it's her brother who's her blood. So she's in a bit of a sticky situation about who to believe. And she actually ends up siding with her brother, and her friend is obviously really hurt and ends up leaving really upset. And it's just really interesting, like the way that they film it as well was really interesting, because so Lucy and the guy are alone in the living room, and like they're kissing, and the camera's just on her, and it's really close up in her eyes, and you can just see that change where she's enjoying it, and then there's kind of that confusion, and then there's like, oh god, I'm changing my mind, and then, oh, I'm in danger. And it was shot really beautifully, I think. And I think it also ends on a note where it encourages debate. It encourages the audience to discuss kind of who was right, who was wrong. Is there a right or wrong? Like, it's such a weird, you know, discussion, isn't it?
I suppose something else you've got as well, kind of, this is going into 2021, I think, there's Venice at Dawn. So what sort of film is that now?
So that I've never ever shot anything like that before. That was so Jamie Adams, the director. So the way that he works is that he writes. So obviously a feature film script is usually like around 100 pages, but his scripts are 40 pages, and he basically leaves the rest to improvisation. So one of the scenes will just be like, Vanessa walks into a bar, she talks to this guy, they have a discussion about this, blah, blah, and then you just turn up and you just have to do it. And it was really fun because I've never done anything like that before, and it really puts you on the spot. You've got to be really present. You can't prepare at all. You've just got to react off the other person. So it's quite exciting. And I remember the first scene that I did was with Tanya, and it was quite funny because it was February, I think it was -2 degrees, and our characters were supposed to be like prancing through the park, wearing like these tiny like gym clothes. And the relationship was quite interesting because our characters, we're kind of friends, but not really friends. So like our parents are friends, but there's this kind of like competition going between us, like, oh, whose life is better, and, you know, who's more successful. And so we're having this conversation, this kind of competitive back and forth conversation while we're like walking to play tennis, and then it starts raining or like hailing, and like our noses are running because we're so cold, and the camera guy's just like, just keep going, just keep going. And we're like, we've got goosebumps, and we're like, oh. So I don't know what that scene's gonna look like. And then the next day, I had a scene with, God, I can't remember his name, which is really bad, but this hilarious actor, Welsh guy. So the scene was, he was supposed to be having dinner with Tanya, and you know, in like Will Ferrell films where you can tell he's just completely ad-libbing the whole thing, going on these weird tangents. He was doing that exact same thing, and trying to act opposite someone like that when they're saying all these ridiculous things. It was so hard not to laugh. I burst out laughing a few times, and I was really apologetic because it was very like, there wasn't much time to film, but it was just so amazing watching someone work like that in that comedic way. Like, oh, it was just hilarious. So that scene, and he actually, so they were obviously, usually you'd have fake wine in a dinner scene, but he had real wine. So by the end of the scene, he drank an entire bottle of wine on his own, and he was just spewing all this random stuff, and it was hilarious.
I guess with that sort of stuff, I mean, do you have like a you know, when you're trying to like, when you've absolutely lost it in the middle of a scene, and you're like, all right, I need to get myself composed again. Do you have like an instant trigger that you have to just invoke in your brain to be like, all right, this is serious thoughts? I mean, the best example I could give is when I lose it in a really serious meeting or whatever,
Yeah.
and really not the time and place to be laughing about random things. I just go to really dark thoughts, and I think for some reason I think that's going to cheer me. I think not cheer me up. I think that's going to make me go serious. All right, you got to listen. Like, someone's about to kill you here. It does the exact opposite. Weird. Yeah, it just makes me more hysterical. I mean, is that something you have to like? Do you have? I mean, maybe you're not thinking about them trying to kill you, but
he's going to kill me. No, I don't. I think I just kept thinking, because obviously there's like 50 crew members behind, and they're all like, obviously they're all laughing as well, but they're, we're running behind, and the restaurant that we're filming in has to close, and we need to get out. So it's like, I think in my mind I'm thinking, stop laughing, because time is money, and we're running out of time, and we need to get this shot. But it was very difficult. I've never had that before, where I've just been uncontrollably laughing like that. But maybe I should try that. He's going to kill me. Maybe that would work.
I don't recommend it. I listen more every time I have.
I'd probably start crying, and they're like, wrong film. This is not a horror.
Yeah, it's maybe it'll work better for you, but it's something like I can't break the habit of, even though I know. Hang on a second, you've done this so many times and it doesn't work, but you're going to do it again.
I know. Every time.
I mean, the other thing as well, you mentioned like a 40-page script compared to like a 100-page script. Is this like something do you think it like enhances your acting method maybe, or like is this something like you want to do again? So
yeah, definitely. I think it's just really nice, because with so many jobs, if you say like one word wrong, someone will call you out and say, oh, you said the word wrong, and it's like, oh, okay, sorry. Whereas with this, there was so much freedom just to say whatever you wanted. There was no pressure. You could take the scene wherever you wanted, like literally. So it was quite invigorating just to have that freedom and like being so present, because sometimes also you prepare scenes so much in your head when really if you over prepare it, then it's not good, because then you're just like in your head and you're not really acting with the person. So it was nice just to turn up, no prep, and just like act against someone about anything and just see where the hell it went. And it might go somewhere really, really random, but yeah, I would definitely do it again, 100%.
It sounds like quite an interesting concept. Like, I'm really looking forward to seeing this when it's out. I guess, considering it's all improvised, as musicians, we get the chance to do the same thing often, but it's never recorded and put out. It's always in a live gig or something like that. So if we mess up, it's kind of like, it doesn't matter, we can't change it. But I suppose if you're improvising and something slips out that doesn't fit the scene or something's wrong, how do you have to go back and improvise it again in a different way?
No, I think sometimes they just use it, because also some of the best things come out of improvisation because it's the most real reactions and the most, I mean, I think sometimes it could be difficult to like edit stuff together, maybe, but I mean, I'm not an editor, so I'm just like, that's not my job. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess we'll see what it looks like. But he would try and kind of navigate the scene into a general direction. So if we got into a really random place, he would be like, okay, go back to the bit when you were talking about the mom, and then we just go back. But yeah, it was such a different experience, but it was just so kind of freeing and fun. Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah, sounds great. When can we expect to see that then?
I guess they were saying 2021. I don't know when. And obviously with everything going on, it could get pushed back. But I mean, luckily we were very lucky because we filmed that just before all this coronavirus stuff happened. But yeah, I'm not sure. Next year sometime. I don't know. Haven't been told.
Yeah, I guess we've covered a lot now, I think.
Yeah.
Begin to wrap it up. I guess before we finish, though, is there anything that you'd like to talk about? Anything that you'd like to plug?
I guess the only things I've got coming out are, so there's the Agatha Christie film, Agatha and the Midnight Murders, which is a TV movie on Channel 5. Don't know the date it's coming out. I think it was supposed to be coming out this month, but it might have changed. But yeah, so watch out for that. And then Open 24 Hours, the horror film, will be coming out in, I think it's August the 18th, which is on demand. And then after that, I think it might be going on to other platforms, but I think it's still kind of up in the air. So
yeah, fair enough. One thing I've been dying to ask actually before we finish.
oh yeah.
3 all-time favourite movies.
Oh gosh, that is such a difficult question. Okay. Do you know what? That's like, I love that question and I hate that question. Okay, so one film that I could watch over and over and over again is probably Bridesmaids, because I just love Kristen Wiig. She's so funny and it's just hilarious. And if I'm ever in a crappy mood, I put it on and it just instantly lifts my mood. So Bridesmaids has got to be in there. I also really love anything by Christopher Nolan, really. I love his films. And I feel like every time I watch them, there's something new that I pick up. And he directs so beautifully, and the script is always so well written, and the cast is so talented. Like, it's just, his films are just such high quality that I could just watch them over and over. So I'd probably say any of those. That's not really a top 3, but I can't pick a top 3. What are your guys' top 3 films?
I think that was exactly when you just mentioned Christopher Nolan. I was like, yeah, Dark Knight, Dark Knight Rises, and what was the first one? Oh no,
Batman
Batman Begins.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, literally those
Any order
three,
though.
just on a loop.
Yeah, just on a loop.
Yeah.
No, spot on. I mean, even I remember watching in Dark Knight Rises. Like, this is before I went to New York, so it's like I went to Wall Street. I was like, hang on a second, I know this place from somewhere. I was like, oh, Bane comes out of this room. He comes out of these doors right here.
Oh, it's just so cool, isn't it? The way they shoot it is just so epic, and the score as well, the music. It's just so epic. And he was supposed to have a film coming out, Tenet.
I think it's still coming out in July.
Is it still? I hope so, because I really
film coming out. Like, I don't want to say post-lockdown, but like mid-lockdown or whatever.
Because they've been really secretive about the plot and the trailers and everything. They've been so hush-hush that I'm just dying to see it.
Yeah, no, I think
that'll be good. That's something we can look forward to.
Definitely. I can't wait for that one to come out.
Yeah. And what are your top 3 films? Are you Christopher Nolan as well?
I'm a massive Tarantino fan.
Oh yeah, Tarantino's good.
Best. But I think his newest film, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, has been so underrated. I think it's incredible. I love it. Massive.
I loved it. I loved Brad Pitt in it.
Incredible, yeah.
He was unbelievable.
I love that film. I love anything with Leo in.
Same.
He's just incredible.
Same. I could watch him all day.
Yeah, man. He was in Shutter Island as well, wasn't he? I think.
Oh,
yeah.
The twist at the end is just mind-blowing.
I remember coming out of the cinemas arguing like with people just over that ending. Like, no, he's still in.
Yeah, I know. And also, Inception.
Yeah.
I remember coming out of that feeling really weird. I remember being like, "Is this real? Is this real life, or is this a dream?" I'm so confused.
I think so many people came out of that Inception as well, just kind of slamming it, just because they couldn't make sense of it. I was like, no, you just gotta like keep watching it maybe, and then then it sort of makes more and more sense every time.
Yeah, and I love how it ends when the thing is still spinning.
Yeah,
so just like,
know.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
What about you then, mate? Your top 3 films?
Mine?
Yeah.
Mine's with the Dark Knight trilogy.
Nolan, yeah.
Yeah, Dark 1, 2, and 3, but in any order.
Yeah, well, all pretty good choices, I think.
Very good choices.
That's something you touched on as well. Maybe I'm going off on one here, but you said soundtracks and scoring on which film was it? Was it the Dark Knight trilogy? Was it Christopher Nolan films you just mentioned the scoring on?
Yeah, Hans Zimmer, right?
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. I mean, like I suppose like soundtracks and stuff like that. Are you more into things that are scored, or I suppose Tarantino does it in a different approach? I mean, I love his soundtracks in any of his films as well. But which one would you say you're more drawn to?
Wait, what do you mean? Which one?
Like orchestrated scores, or I don't know what the other term of it is. Like composed,
It's just a soundtrack, isn't it? Soundtrack.
Oh yeah. I think orchestrated. I think it's way more epic.
Yeah.
Like, I remember the score in Interstellar. Do you remember that? It was so weird, but it really worked. Yeah. So I think for that kind of epic scale movie, I definitely think orchestrated.
I suppose with films as well, I think Interstellar is actually like a life-changing experience for me. And that's like really overstating it, but it was the first film
I agree.
that I saw without having seen a trailer for it. I thought, all right, I'm going to go into this blind because all my friends were telling me to go watch it anyway. So, and it just made the experience way better. I mean, is that something you actually do? Do you reckon? I reckon like watching trailers for films and stuff like that really takes away from the experience when you go to watch it for the first time.
Yeah, because also I feel like with so many trailers nowadays, they just show the whole storyline and you're like, okay, well, I know what happens now. Or they'll show like the best joke or whatever.
Yeah.
And it kind of ruins it. So sometimes trailers I don't think are that helpful.
Yeah, agreed. I remember the trailer for Game of Thrones season 8 was incredible. And then it came to the actual season 8.
Oh, and it was a complete letdown. I know. I was so disappointed with that last season. I know everyone was, but I was really sad. To be honest, I'm just glad it's over now but like the first like 6 seasons were just unbelievable. It's just sad that it had to end. It just ended too quickly and it was rushed, and yeah, it's a shame. But
the score didn't suffer. The score was incredible though.
Yeah, it was good. That was one of my favorite TV shows. I love that.
What would you say is your favorite TV show?
Oh, one of the first TV shows I ever binged was Breaking Bad, which I loved.
Yeah.
I've been meaning to go back and watch it again, but I haven't done that yet. But I also just love like The Office, the US Office. I just love Steve Carell. He's hilarious. I watched so many TV series, honestly. I just watched Normal People on BBC. Have you guys seen that?
I haven't seen that one.
Oh, so good. So good. You should definitely watch it. It's based on a book. It's like a 12-part series, but each episode is only half an hour. That's really good. What are your guys' favorite TV shows?
Was Game of Thrones.
Yeah, was until the last season. Same, probably.
Yeah, I guess I'm a huge fan of the books as well, so I think it's probably always going to keep the top.
Same, I read the books too.
Great, the books are insane.
Yeah.
Well, I'm obsessed with Westworld's probably my number one at the moment. It's brilliant.
Yeah, do you know what annoyed me? So I was watching Westworld, and then do you remember in the first season there was all these like theories halfway through about what's going on? And my boyfriend told me one of the theories was like that one of the guys was actually a robot. And then it happened, and it just really ruined the whole twist. And I was like, and then I just didn't carry on watching because it just ruined it for me. But up until that point, I loved it.
Yeah, it's great. I completely agree. I remember reading all the Reddit theories for Game of Thrones season 8, and they were terrible. And then it came true. The whole thing was perfect, and it was just,
Yeah. God, I remember we were all looking up those theories, and they were all true.
It was dreadful.
Oh, wow.
I think that was me after like every episode aired. I was like, right, I need to remind myself about the Night King. What's going on with him?
Yeah.
And then
it's
I think. Sorry, go on.
Sorry, can I carry on?
Oh yeah, so like George R.R. Martin like puts it out like, oh yeah, one person on the internet's got it right, and then you're thinking, who's that one person?
Yeah. I wonder if he's going to do any other things now, George R.R. Martin.
There's a prequel.
Do you think he's done?
Yeah, there's a prequel coming in 2022.
Oh yeah, no, because I had a friend that was supposed to be in the prequel, and then they stopped filming or something.
They scrapped the first one, didn't they?
Yeah, they scrapped the first one, and then HBO have ordered the second one to 10 episodes.
Okay.
And George Martin is writing that one.
I wonder why they scrapped. Maybe after all the crap that they got from that season, they're like, shit, this needs to be amazing.
Yeah, well, it was supposed to be about how the White Walkers and all those guys, it was supposed to be all about how they formed, but I guess at the end of the series they didn't really matter, so no one would care anymore.
I would have watched that.
I would have still watched it.
Yeah.
Anything that adds to the folklore and everything like that. I think the next one's about the Targaryens, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, that'll be good.
Yeah.
That's the thing. There's so many different families and so many different time zones. Like, there's so many possibilities for TV series. Like, I thought they were going to do one like the Battle of the Trident, that kind of time, maybe. But yeah, that would be a cool job. I'd love to do that.
Yeah, that would be epic.
Yeah, that'd be a dream come true.
Are you guys Lord of the Rings fans?
Yeah.
I've never
You know, they're doing a TV series of that.
Are they actually?
Yeah. So Amazon bought the rights for like $1 billion. And they were filming it in New Zealand, and then obviously this happened, but I'm sure they'll go back to it. But that will be amazing, I think, hopefully, because I love the films.
Well, they've got the actual like the Shire set, haven't they, in New Zealand? I think like it's like a tourist attraction now.
Yeah, I'd love to go to New Zealand. It looks beautiful.
Oh, it looks amazing. I don't think it's too different to the UK as well. I don't know. Maybe I'm just chatting too much there, but
Lots of sheep, I've heard.
Lots of sheep,
which I guess is kind of similar.
Yeah.
Did you see The Witcher?
I haven't, which I should.
Mm.
I don't know why I haven't, which is weird. It seems like right up my street. I haven't seen it. My boyfriend's seen it. He loves it. Did you guys like it?
I haven't seen it.
I'm going to cause some controversy. I completely disliked it.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I could hear him watching it, and it sounded, I don't know. I just heard like a lot of screaming, and I was like,
the first episode. I mean, I know the books have been written for years, but the way they filmed the first episode was completely. It was just Game of Thrones in one episode.
oh really?
So many shots were literally just copy and pasted from it. Just
oh no.
So, as a massive fan of Game of Thrones, the CGI was incredible, and Henry Cavill is insane, obviously, and everyone else in it is great. But it just felt like a complete carbon copy of Game of Thrones.
Copying. See, that's the thing. Like, everyone's trying to be the new Game of Thrones now. There's also another TV series called The Wheel of Time, which is based on these epic books. They're all trying to fill that void now of like that epic fantasy TV series to get everyone into. But I mean, if you do it right, then it can be amazing, but you never want to copy, because then it's just like, what's the point?
I guess with a fantasy world, you've got unlimited stories. You can go forever. It's never going to stop, is it? So
yeah,
people like HBO and Amazon can just keep churning series out forever.
Exactly, non-stop.
I think we've gone on a bit of a tangent here. I can't lie.
We have, yeah.
I think we've covered everything that we set out to cover. If that's okay with you, yeah?
Yeah. No, thank you guys for having me. I've never done a podcast before, so.
I hope it was an all right experience for your first time.
No, it was nice. It was very, very relaxed. It was good.
Thank you so much for joining us then.
Cool. Well, it was really nice to meet you guys.
Yeah, you too.
Meet, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you for coming on. We really appreciate it. And like I said, we'll let you know when it's out. Yeah, cool. All good
Awesome.
then.
See ya. Bye.
Yeah.